what have we learned from June 12, 1993? To look at that with us this morning, we have a political analyst, Mr. Ejiro Onobrakweya. Good morning.
Morning, madam.
We also have Mr. Mike Igini, who is a resident electoral commissioner in Cross River State. Good to have you with us again, Mike.
It's my pleasure.
As well as Mr. Oscar Owundiwe, who is National Coordinator, Alliance for Positive Reform.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let me start with the political analyst, if I may. Yes, June 12, June 12, June 12, we always talk about it. Do you think that June 12 is still relevant to Nigeria's life today, 20 years on?
Thank you very much. I believe that if we do not remember our history, then it's going to be difficult to plot a chart for our direction and our future. June 12 remains a very important landmark for our democratic process. June 12, it remains a very important landmark and turning point for our democratic process. By all standards, it's supposed to be the freest and the fairest election in Nigeria. International observers said so. People adjudged it to be very free and fair. The gentleman in question, Chief Moshood Abiola, is a man that is loved by most people. I mean, he's what I describe as a nationalist, a true nationalist. If you go to the north, they talk about him. If you go to the south, they talk about him. If you go to the west, they talk about him. He wasn't just a Yoruba man, but he was a nationalist. And because of that, he was able to gather support. And he was able to tell people about how he was able to convince people about a new Nigeria. And as such, he contested for an election, and he won that election. It was very clear. Everybody said so. Everybody saw it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oscar, can you please try and explain or distill for us how it is that that particular election was devoid of the separations that we see today? Tribal lines, religious lines, all that was thrown away in June 1993. How do you think that happened? And we have not been able to achieve that since then.
Thank you very, very much. I think that is the significance of June 12, and that is the lesson we should preach to our children. Unfortunately, those who have been making a lot of noise about June 12 would rather not do that for reasons we yet do not understand. Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, first of all, had name recognition in Nigeria. He didn't come from nowhere. Name recognition. And he was recognized for a number of other things. One, a detribalized Nigerian, just like my brother said, a nationalist. My father was about how old was he then? My father was very close to his 19 years old, but he wanted to go and vote for Abiola. I voted for Abiola, and because of the person of Abiola. And people now believe that this man will make the right decisions. And that was the thing that happened. If it was somebody else, trust me, it would have been very difficult. Nobody knew who Tofa was, even if he had the best of intentions. But Abiola, first of all, marketed himself to the average Nigerian in sports, in philanthropy. Name whatever it is, he did that. That was why it was different. And that is what we should focus on. That if you can market yourself as a detribalized Nigerian, all Nigerians will say that is our man. That man who represents unity, Nigerians will say that is our man. And we won't be thinking is our turn or is not our turn. Nobody cares where anybody comes from. But we want to believe that you're not there representing your tribe. Abiola was not representing Southwest.
Okay. Now Mike, everyone still talk about the freest and fairest election in Nigeria being that election in 1993. How is it that if it was adjudged as successful as everyone says it was, the whole world says it was, how come we don't use that system anymore for elections in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much. I think from the background that have been given very correctly by the last two speakers, in relation to June 12, it shows clearly that Nigeria is a nation of absurdity. It's a paradox of a nation. That we can talk about the freest elections, that we talk about an election that represents the entire Nigerian voices, a pan-Nigerian mandate, and it was not realized, makes it a paradox of a nation.
It does.
So, therefore, what are those distinctive hallmarks of the June 12 events that we should borrow today, or that, to put in a question, that we have not put in place? First, it should be noted that because of the convoluted transition and the fact that we're in the military for a very long time, from 1983 up to June 12, there was a wide clamor. And of course, so many people died in the process trying to restore democracy. So by June 12, 1993, even though the kind of system we now have, we didn't have it in place. Don't forget that in some places at that time, people just simply had to queue up. The process of queuing up behind your candidate or the poster was because we had only 2 political parties.
Yeah.
Right now, you have not less than 25 political parties.
Okay.
So if we have to queue up, how are we going to have that environment and all that? That's number one. But I think that what is now close to the June 12 event that regrettably was aborted, which of course something would have built on today, key on what Oscar said, because a nation must have something to build on. And that was the June 12 event. But so what is close to that? A pan-Nigerian mandate. According to Nigerians, because after the 2011 elections, some of us said, we are students. The Nigerian people are the better people to make an assessment of what had been done. So 2011 election was also reflect a semblance of what happened in June 12.
Correct.
Because of the remarkable departure from what used to obtain in the country. But today, we have, first, we moved away from what happened from 1958, where we used to have what we call manual compilation of voter register. Because